Exclusion from communication due to hearing loss or impairment can have significant impact on a person's everyday life, sometimes creating the feelings of isolation and frustration. The ear is one of the most sensitive organs in the human body, oftentimes taken for granted. Ear infection and long-term exposure to loud noise or high volume are said to be some of the common causes of hearing loss and impairment, which experts say can be avoided. Proper ear care has been noted as instrumental to maintaining optimal ear health, and this is our focus on this edition of Health Options. I am Salwa Khalil Ibrahim. Thanks for joining us. Also, we promise you tips on the economic viability of Nigeria's abundant natural medicine in our Nature's Corner. You are watching Health Options on the network service of the NTA. I know you enjoy listening to your favorite music, and the beats and lyrics sings even better when you plug in the earpiece. How often do you use cotton buds to clean your ear? I know that soothing relief that comes from scratching the itch in the ear. By the way, when was the last time you had your ears checked by a specialist? If your answer to my questions are indeed negative, no worries. All you need to know and do with regard to ear care will be addressed by a specialist, but that will be after this time out. Stay with us. Joining me in the studio is the Chief Consultant, ENT, that is Ear, Nose and Throat, and Head and Neck Surgeon at the Federal Medical Center, Jabi, Abuja, Dr. Uche Ukwiji. Thanks for coming on the program, Doctor.
Thank you, Sarah, for having me.
Okay. Now, the ear looks small, but very essential. We see the outer part for identification. But can you please tell us what the ear is like from the inside?
Okay, the ear basically is made up of three parts.
Okay.
The outer ear, the middle ear, and the inner ear. So the parts that can easily be viewed are the outer and the middle. Or the inner ear is housed in a very hard bone in the head. And these different parts have their different functions. The external part is responsible for cleansing the ear. The middle part is responsible for transmission of sounds into the inner ear that processes the sound into electrical energy, sends it to the brain for interpretation, and then somebody hears sound. The inner ear also is responsible for us for balance. Part of the inner ear, what it does is to make us know that we are balanced, we're not falling, or if there's a problem with that part, then we lose balance.
Okay, now what is the difference now between hearing loss and deafness? And then what are their causes, of course?
Hearing loss and deafness basically refers to the same thing, but it depends on where it's used.
Okay.
Medically, we refer to anybody who has inability to hear sounds or understand speech as having hearing loss. But generally, most people refer to that as deaf.
What leads to hearing loss?
Hearing loss can be caused by a number of things. Incidentally, in some cases, one cannot precisely say what happened to the hearing. However, basically, you can have hearing loss that happen from birth and also hearing loss that can be acquired after birth. For hearing loss that happened from birth, a number of things that happen inside the mother's womb can lead to hearing loss. They include some diseases. They also include children who are born and have jaundice. We also have hearing loss that is genetically acquired. So it runs in families. In fact, 60% of children who are born with what is known as prelingual hearing loss, that is hearing loss that happens before acquiring speech, have genetic causes. These genetic causes are as a result of problems with their genes, and so it's handed down from generation to generation. Other causes also include what we call intrauterine infections, infections that happen to the children while they are still inside their mother's wombs. And then we also have what we call vaccine-preventable infections. Those are not really congenital, but they can happen to children before they acquire speech. And they include measles, mumps, rubella, and okay, that's basically, those are the vaccine, and they're all viral infections.
At what point should you start getting worried?
When a child who is around a year or even 2 years is still babbling, something is wrong. Or the child is not simply responding to their names. They've not learned their names. Where most children that are toddlers, not even toddlers, infants from 6 months up, are able to actually react or show a sign when you call their names. But children who are deaf will not show anything. They will just keep staring at the parents. So when they pick some of these signs, the parents can actually infer that this child is not hearing. But the only way you know that the child is not hearing is when you carry out some special tests on the child and notice that there is loss of hearing. Actually, for children that are born, there is supposed to be a regular hearing test for all newborns, because it's actually good to pick up these signs early and allow for intervention before the child passes the age that he can benefit from rehabilitation of hearing. However, this is not readily available, so we depend on what the parents notice to infer that the child has hearing loss. There are also acquired causes of hearing loss. One of the commonest acquired causes that we have now is loud sounds.
Yeah, I was coming to
exposure.
that. Yes.
It's becoming kind of an epidemic because we have a lot of gadgets and entertainment centers that expose people to very loud noise. The WHO has warned that sounds that are listened to at 95 decibel or even 90 decibel and more, and that one is not supposed to listen to such sounds for more than an hour, 15 minutes in a week, not even a day, not even an hour. And so you find out that those of us who expose themselves to very loud sounds in entertainment centers, sounds that are higher than 100 decibel, are at risk of losing their hearing. In fact, very, very loud sounds that are louder than 100 decibel can actually wipe out their hearing just once. Just one exposure can wipe out the whole hearing in the 2 ears. The other causes include aging. Aging, most people when they get to 50 years of age and upwards can lose their hearing. That is what we call presbycusis. Other causes include middle ear infections like chronic otitis media, acute otitis media. In fact, this particular cause is common in children, acute otitis media, and when it's not properly treated, it can leave behind a complication that will lead to loss of hearing for the rest of their life. That is eardrum perforation. A lot of people have eardrum, some of them are not even aware they have eardrum perforation, and it has made them not to hear very well throughout life. And so for such people, they go on to develop what we call chronic otitis media, with pus draining out of their ears intermittently. And it's actually not sad to note that a lot of such sufferers don't even know there is a remedy for such causes of hearing loss.
Okay, we'll come to that remedy when we come back from this break. Join us again. If you just join us, the program is Health Options, and we have been talking about how to care for your ear. And the consultant ENT head and neck surgeon, Dr. Uche, is still with us. Many thanks for being there, Doctor.
Thank you, Sawa.
Okay, so there is a common saying that the ear is self-cleaning. Is that a myth or a fact?
It's actually not a myth.
Okay.
It's a well-known fact that the ear has the ability to clean itself. And the simple mechanism is that the skin of the outer ear grows 1 to 3 millimeters every day outwards, pushing out dirt, pushing out old wax, and whatever is trapped in the wax that is at the entrance of the ear. And that mechanism keeps the ear perfectly clean. And so it's not wise to help the ear to clean itself. since it is self-cleansing.
I know a lot of people, some people, is like a reflex. They can't do without putting something in
like
their ear or cleaning.
It's like an addiction, not just a reflex.
Yes, it's like an addiction. A lot of people tend to do that. Is that safe or not?
It's not safe. Cleaning the ear actually causes more problems than solve. For the following reasons. One, when one cleans his ear, you remove the wax that protects the ear. The wax is like the watchman, or the protector of the ear. And when it's removed, it leaves the ear vulnerable to effects of water and infection. And so cleaning the ear can lead to outer ear infection. It can lead to itching because the wax is oily and so lubricates the ear too. And when it's removed, the ear becomes very itchy. And it's like a vicious cycle. You want to relieve the itch by cleaning.
Yes.
The more you clean, the more it itches, and you just keep going on and on and on. And the cleaning the ear is also very dangerous because a lot of people have been known to cause injury, very, very bad injuries to their eardrums, to the walls of the ear, using cotton buds, and so many other things people stick into their ear to clean their ear, namely toothpicks, broomsticks, car keys, pen, many things.
Yeah.
The ear is actually better left alone. It feels better when you leave it alone.
Okay, but are there special techniques on how to clean the ear?
There isn't any technique because the best thing to do is just leave your ears alone.
Okay.
And if you leave your ears alone, it won't have any issues. Another common side effect of ear cleaning that I failed to mention is wax impaction. And so the cotton bud is not a very good instrument to clean the ear. So instead of bringing out the wax, it actually pushes in most of it. And so before you know it, the person develops a blocked ear, becomes painful, becomes infected, and that's actually one of the commonest causes of a visit to an ENT clinic.
Okay. So now, in terms of ear loss now, how can one avoid losing one's hearing?
One can benefit from a visit to an ENT clinic in terms of checking the hearing, especially those who are at risk of developing hearing loss. Those who have hereditary relations who already have hearing loss, those who have approached the age of 50 and probably started developing the signs of hearing loss, those who have been exposed to very loud noise recently, they need to check their ears. Those who have been exposed to what we call ototoxic medication, medications that can damage hearing. There are a number of them. Commonest include quinine, furosemide, gentamicin, and so many others. So those are advised. But apart from these category of persons, every other person can benefit from at least once a year checkup of the ears.
Okay. Now, in terms of, you know, like hearing aid for people who have lost their, you know, hearing, you know, how accessible or how cheap is that?
Hearing aids are expensive, and they are even getting more expensive with the dollar rate that seems to be going up. And
or is there an alternative to that?
Okay, so basically, based on the type or what caused the hearing loss,
yes,
some types of hearing loss can actually be treated. Commonest is wax impaction. Of course, when one syringes the ear, the hearing is regained. When there is an infection that is causing hearing loss and is treated, middle ear infection, hearing comes back. For those who have perforated eardrums, a surgery can be done called tympanoplasty to repair the eardrum, and this can restore hearing and prevent further damage. But for those who are in the category where the hearing loss cannot be treated in terms of surgery or medications, they should benefit from hearing aids.
Okay.
Which has different types, but many of them are expensive. And then apart from hearing aids, because there is a type of hearing loss that one cannot even use hearing aids for. That's the level we call profound hearing loss. At that level, the next thing to use is what we call a cochlear implant, which is a device that is partially implanted into the inner ear to stimulate what is left of the hearing. That is also much more expensive than hearing aids. And so based on this, people are advised to actually prevent that hearing loss. Don't allow it to start, especially the ones that are acquired. And the commonest is noise-induced hearing loss. It's also good if you're in a noisy environment to take a break. Many entertainment center, many events in Nigeria are very noisy. You go to weddings, you go to naming ceremonies, you have very loud music. If you find yourself in such a situation and you can't actually control the noise, take a break. Move away from that noise for a few minutes so that your ear will recover. Because the truth is, when you're exposed to very loud noise, the hearing can be affected temporarily, but has the ability to reverse. The body can reverse it. That's what we call a temporary threshold shift. And so, with further exposure, it gets to a point where that reversal cannot happen. It becomes permanent.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's advised, when you're exposed to very loud noise, don't sit down there continuously. Move away from the noise intermittently so that your ear can recover and not become permanently damaged.
Okay, so on a final note now, briefly now, what is your advice now on maintaining a sound hearing ability for life?
Okay, so my advice is, one, stay away from that noise. Don't even generate the noise yourself. Don't clean your ears. The ears can clean itself. If you have a hearing problem or even an ear disease, the only place to seek care is an ENT clinic. Do not go to that chemist. Don't go to that pharmacy asking for a medication to treat the ear. Because sometimes when you do that, you convert something that is very simple to a very complicated illness by the time you show up in an ENT clinic. Do not stick any object into your ears. Whether you want to relieve that itch or you want to remove anything that is stuck in your ear. When the ear gets so itchy, the best thing to do is to do this. Press this part of the ear continuously for a few minutes. After some time, that itch is supposed to go down. But if it doesn't, please kindly visit the nearest ENT clinic for such services. If you don't know where any is, go to any hospital and ask for advice on how to see an ENT surgeon.
Many thanks, Dr. Uche. Hope that is helpful to our viewers. Thank you for coming on Health Options.
Thank you, Sawa.